Oh, hey, it's me. It's the end of the year, 2020. I've made it through. You've made it through if you're hearing this. And does that make us winners? Does that make us survivors? What's that make us? I don't know. Um, we'll see. Um, yeah. So it's New Year's Eve in 2020. I'm sitting outside a bagel shop waiting for them to open so I can go in, eat some bagels, and do a little research on my laptop. Post this podcast, hopefully, if it sounds okay. I don't know. I'm trying something a little different with the volume down, the record volume down lower to see how that affects the audio quality. You'd think after like 250 episodes I'd have this down pat, but no, that's just not me. If you really thought that, you haven't been paying attention so much. Uh, yeah, so I'm going to get into a little bit of recap of the year. It's kind of wonky. I don't know what the word I want to use is, but yeah, I'm going to do that. Talk about a few things. Um, yeah, so we'll get into it. Hey, you know what? It's Thursday, December 31st, 2020, and as of this recording, I'm still depressed, but I'm not dead. Holy moly, what a year. Oof. It hasn't been all bad. Some good things have happened, and I'm hoping to mention those. At least the things I could think of. And my memory's not that good. It's pretty poor, actually. So there's probably lots I've forgotten, and I'm gonna ask if 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 you think of something, if you're screaming at your speaker or your headphones or your phone or whatever, because hey, I forgot this wonderful thing happened for me, then send me a message. I will get that out of the way early. Jamolki@gmail.com, Facebook.com/Jamolki, @Jamolki on Twitter and Instagram, www.jamolki.info. That's JAMOALKI. Or text me 248-648-1419 in the US. Worldwide on WhatsApp, +1 248-648-1419. Let me know. Say, hey, lunkhead, remember when this happened and you were all excited about it? And I'll say, no, I don't, but it rings a bell. So, yeah, I don't know. I was torn on how I wanted to do this episode, which happens to be in the numbering system that I've used. This is episode 200, but it's far above that. I didn't number the daily episodes I was doing as such, and there was like 188 A through K or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember. So I was gonna check. I was gonna have the actual number for you all, but I forgot to do that last night, and it was much too early this morning to to think to do that until just now. And as that I'm sitting in my car, I don't have Wi-Fi, right? So yeah, it's been a thing, right? I mean, I was going to stop the podcast. I was not going to stop the podcast. I increased my podcast output. Um, I stopped for a while. I don't know. It's just been really, really up and down kind of year. Up and down kind of life, really, right? I mean, um, yeah, I don't know. Um, So yeah, I was gonna do I wanted to do maybe a recap, maybe do a looking ahead, maybe do a I don't know what I want to say. I don't know. Wow. So I I did just look it up, and looks like we're at like 280 283 podcast episodes. Wow. Who'da thunk? Who'da thunk that I started out in the bedroom in St. Paul, secretly recording a podcast on a microphone that I had gotten from Dave because he wanted to do a audio book story collection for a road trip. I think I have this right. And so he had a bunch of friends and family members record like a short story, a kid's story or something. And I don't know, they were going on a trip and he wanted to be able to play this. He thought it would be neat to hear these stories in different people's voices. And as I remember it, he sent me a microphone to do it. And so there I was, sitting in front of this microphone in secret, saying how much I hated life and I hated everything and how miserable I was. And now here we are, some 3-4 years later, I don't know. And I'm still talking to you. I'm still in contact with some of you who listen. It's wild. It's pretty wild. I don't know. I don't know if the show's gotten better over the years or if it's gotten worse. I don't know how much I relate to the folks who maybe I related to early on. You know, the first 50 episodes, the first 100 episodes when things were really bad, and I guess slowly getting better over time, but I wasn't really aware of it. And I'm more aware of it now, obviously. I mean, this January, it's going to be 6 years since I had my suicide attempt. 6 years, is that right? Yeah. Wow, it seems so long, but it seems so short. And I mean, some of it still feels like it was yesterday. And but I'm clearly in a better place, and hopefully I've pulled some of you along into a slightly better place, or maybe a slightly different place that seems better. So it's been quite a ride, and I'm getting all nostalgic and not weepy-eyed because I still have no ability to feel my feelings. But yeah, so let's get into the year that was 2020, right? I'm not going to go into all the this and that and virus and blah, blah, blah. And it's raining now, so if you can hear that, sorry. So I've got just a small list of good things, bad things that happened through the year. And I had it in my head that it was going to play out like, I'm going to tell you these bad things. Oh my gosh. And we're all going to commiserate with how terrible the year was. And then, surprise. Hey, here's 5 things that happened good. But I'm not that dramatic. I'm not that emotive, right? I can't. I don't think I can pull that off. So some of the notable things, we'll just call them notable things. The biggest one probably is that I still haven't, at least not aware to me, grieved from losing Dad. And every now and then there's like a stark moment when it's like he's not here. He's not anywhere. And I get all that he lives in our heart and things like that. I get that. I mean, he's metaphorically somewhere, but it's just the girls will say something, and my youngest has wanted the game Who Knew for a while. It was a game that my parents had in their front hall closet, and we'd play it every now and then. And she just loved it. And I frankly couldn't remember it at all, what it was like, what the game was. And we were sitting around, a couple weeks ago, we were sitting around the table, and And she started talking about it again, because for whatever 3 months, what do you want for Christmas? Nothing. What do you want for Christmas? Nothing. And then she started talking about it, and she said, "I'm going to buy Who Knew. I don't care what it's going to cost. I'm going to find it." I was like, "Sure, okay." And it struck me, and I hopped on my phone and looked on eBay, and I found it for like $30. And I was like, "Okay, cool, I'll get it." And Christmas, look at that, Christmas is saved. So we were playing it. My girls were with me these past 5 days, and we were playing it. And she remembered, like, the first time that she played it, the first times that she played it, and she was too young to know how to read, and like my dad would have to read to her what the words were on the game, and like she remembered that, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, that's like something my dad would do. Like he would play, not play the game. His part in the game would be to read to my youngest so she could play the game. And that sounds exactly something like he would do. Like, forget about me being part of the greater fun. Let me do this thing and get my kicks out of helping my granddaughter. And that's exactly like something my dad would do. So, yeah, I mean, like at that point, so that night when I went to bed, like it was kind of fresh on my mind. Like, oh, yeah, that was a real dad thing, right? And, but I think it wasn't as much of what I was missing as much as what my girls maybe were missing. And probably that was a lot of projection, right? I mean, where is it my place to try to try to feel or think that I can understand what someone else is feeling, right? So yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing. And I just, I don't know. I don't know what, when, if ever, if I just don't, I mean, is it really at me? Is it really getting to me? Is it, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know what it is. So that's been going on. And COVID, of course, I mean, the bigger overall picture, right? And, the things that brought about, as far as like not being able to see mom, it's been 14, 15 months maybe that I've seen mom. I'd been up in Michigan when dad was, in the hospital and in the hospice and different things. And, I left a few days after he passed, and I haven't seen mom since then. I haven't seen my brother. I haven't seen Dave. I haven't seen Scott. I haven't seen anybody. And, I, I'm not going to say it's like eating away at me every day, but I see it as like, wow, this is the longest time I've been without seeing these folks. And, yeah, it kind of sucks. It kind of sucks. I do a couple different kind of research studies, and I'm part of them. And one's through Google Baseline, I think is what the arm of Google is called, and it's whole like COVID study kind of thing. And one of the questions that comes up like every 2 weeks is, how has the pandemic affected you? And one of them is like, I've been unable to visit friends and family. And it's like every couple of weeks, I'm really reminded of that. Like, it's so easy for me to get into my own day to day, and a week will go by, and, I've thought about others as much as I've thought about myself or cared about myself, I guess. So, but, then every 2 weeks it comes back, and I was like, hey, you know what, and I try to call mom every few days. I try to call Dave like once a week, or it's probably we average about that throughout the year. Scott a little bit less frequently. But yeah, I mean that's kind of a bummer for the year, right? But I mean, I'm not alone in that, obviously. And there are folks who have taken the pandemic a lot more seriously than I have, I'll say, where they haven't even seen like, their relative one town over, right? Like maybe Zoom calls or something like that. But um and I don't see anybody else besides, my kid, my family, my household, Nora's ex, and my girls and my ex are really the only people that I see. And to be honest, I mean, outside of trips up to Michigan, those would be the only people I would normally see. Um, anyway, so yeah, I don't know. COVID. So then the other thing that, and it's fresh on my mind because I'm nursing an injury right now, but it just seems like it's been injury after injury all year, related to my running. Early on in the year, and I think I've had 2 different cortisone shots this year, and one in each knee. Um, that's what I think. I know it doesn't sound right as I say it, but it sounds right in my head. Um, and now I'm dealing with another injury, and it always seems uh, it's recency bias, and it's just the way we think of things. But it always seems like just as my running is starting to get into a groove, then something comes up and it sets me back 2 weeks, a month, something like that. And maybe that's related to just, I'm in that groove, so I'm doing more, and I'm doing more than I should, sooner than I should. I don't know, but it's been frustrating. And so hopefully my secretive New Year's resolutions will help me get a better handle on some of that. But we'll see. I cashed in. I think I said this. I cashed in a bunch of my Amazon gift cards and got myself a Garmin fitness watch. And so I've moved out of the Fitbit ecosystem. And yeah, so it does a few more things than the Fitbit did, and the battery is supposed to last considerably longer. It's got some solar power charging capability, which will never take the place of wall charging, but it should extend battery life by 5-6 days, on each charge. So I'm looking forward to that. I hate charging things. I feel like if it's not on me because it's charging, then I'm missing valuable data. Like these are steps that won't get logged, or my heart rate won't get tracked, or whatever. And so yeah, we'll see how it goes. But I'm hoping that spurs me into being a little more active, and there's a few more stats on it that might help me with that. And I mean, technically, I'm missing out this opportunity cost, right, with what I could have got with Amazon gift card money. But in my mind, it was like it's a free thing, right? It's a gift, and wow, try something new with a gift. I think. I don't know. So, I mean, some of the better things that came about this year, as a direct consequence of the pandemic, is I've got to spend much more time with my girls this year than any year in the past 6. And it's been better quality time than at any point since they were, toddlers. Really, I'm in a better place, and just getting to see them at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days at a stretch kind of thing. And that's been really great, and I've really appreciated it, and I think they have too. And the kids, Nora's kids and my kids, they've kind of grown closer together through this, and like they look forward to seeing each other, which which does my heart good, right? Um, so yay, thank you, COVID. Thank you. Hey, um, something kind of material is I got this new car, which I still adore. This Honda Insight hybrid. Um, it's just fun in terms of what it offers. It's not necessarily a fun drive, and there are some drawbacks here and there, but 50 miles to the gallon, I'll take it. I'm pretty pleased with that. I find I'm obsessed with gas mileage. Like I think about it all the time when I'm in the car. Like if I stop at the gas station and I get back in the car and I turn it on and it's not on, EV mode and the engine's actually running, I think, "Oh my gosh, I'm wasting gas. What the heck? I should be, it's I'm a little bit obsessed about it." But maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that gives me something else to obsess about rather than uh dark places I could go. I don't know. And then my job. I got this job in January of this year. So I haven't even quite been here a year yet. But I enjoy it. It's not thoroughly satisfying, but it's not like, I really hate doing this. I really don't like going to work, which is a problem I really had with the job previous to this. I started out part-time, which is what it was. And now I'm full-time, and there's potential of, moving forward, growing within the company. And, it's a good thing. It's, it was always a goal, obviously, to get, first to work and then work full-time. And there was a stretch early on in post suicide attempt where I tried to do too much too fast, and maybe I stretched out the part-time work longer than I really needed to, but it was the path I took, and Nora afforded me that, and we were doing okay, as a married couple with kids. So yeah, and now here I am. I'm full-time, and I feel decent about it. So I'm not fulfilling lifelong dreams with this job, but those were never really a thing, right? I was realistically probably never going to be a teacher. I don't know that I think I have the temperament for it, but I think all my issues with mental illness really prohibited that from happening. And that's fine. That's fine. I spend time teaching my kids and trying to educate that way. So I get to scratch that itch a little bit. So yeah, I mean that's the year that was, right? There's quite a few folks who have listened, who have dropped in and out. Send me a message to say thank you or hey, cool or whatever, and I appreciate that. And there are those of you who have been friends of mine for a couple of years, 3 years, 4 years through all this, and it's remarkable to me. And I'm glad to have you. I'm glad when I pull my head out of my butt long enough to send some messages, or if out of the blue I hear from Ariellis or Bob or Ted or Sophie or everybody. It's just nice. It's just nice to say, they say, "Hey, how's it going?" And and I have to stop and think, "How's it going?" And usually it's like, I'm okay. I've never replied back, "Wow, things are going great," or "Her life sucks." So that's me. I'm meh. I'm okay. 2020 was the meh year. All around. Worse so for some folks. I get that. But nothing spectacular happened this year. And I can't, I say that and I feel like I'm saying like, oh, well, if only if it was as good as 2019 or 2018 or whatever. I don't know that I would look back and say any year something truly spectacular happened, like singular event. And I'm really bad at catching and holding on to kind of overall events or life changes. So, yeah, I mean, that's that. I mean, 2020 is over. I'm not staying up tonight. I actually work tomorrow. And, so yeah, I mean, I'm off today. Target doesn't want us in their stores on New Year's, and I'm actually double checking that right now because as a reminder, we are blacked out of Target on 12/31. There it is. I was surprised as I was driving to the bagel shop here this morning how many cars there were on the road, and I was concerned I had it backwards. Like, oh, we're not supposed to be in the stores on New Year's Day, and hey. So, but no, I got it. So I'll work tomorrow. Bit of driving, a little ways to go. So I want to get started early. And I mean, I say that like that's the reason I won't be staying up to midnight, but I'm not that guy anyway. But what's going on with you? What are do you have New Year's Eve traditions? I mean, obviously, like smooching somebody when the ball drops is probably out, unless they're, well, I guess if you're within your immediate family and your partner or whatever. But what do you usually do? What maybe aren't you getting to do? Are you a traveler to Times Square every year? I don't know. That's not my thing, but many people do it. So hundreds of thousands of people do it, which won't be this year. So it's weird. It's weird. But yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it there. Thanks everybody for sticking with me for another year. Thanks to everyone who downloads the show, listens to the show, reaches out to me, leaves a podcast review on iTunes or Apple Music or whatever it is. You're all wonderful. Just fantastic. Coming up in the new year, I've got, I think I'm going to have Dave on an episode. I reached out to a guy on Reddit, and I'm going to try to get him on an episode. I still want to get Claire on. I'd like to get Kate on. I got to do some more Nora shows. Hopefully it's I make it through the year in good shape and putting out stuff that you like listening to. So, and if you want to be on the show, if you got comments, concerns, questions, whatever, reach out to me on all those different platforms. Well, not on all of them, pick one and do that. But aside from that, everybody, 2020, we made it. We're still here. The worlds didn't shut down forever, and there's light, always light at the end of the tunnel, even if we can't see it right now. So, everybody, thanks. Be safe and be well.